Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Go Go Loser Ranger Season 1, Episode 8. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up in the aftermath of last episode. The other team, Shion's squad, thinks they've won. They're like, yeah, they're celebrating. It's specifically Yukino and Urabe that are like celebrating and kind of gloating, and Urabe kind of gets in Koguma's face being like, wow, actually, like, I wasn't expecting you to like fight as hard as you did. Like, actually going up against like a junior ranger like that's actually pretty impressive. You know, I'm actually quite surprised. But then Koguma's got like this look on his face, and then you have Usukubo counting down. You're like, what are you doing? And because I was like, you could tell something was up because D wasn't saying anything. And he turns around like, oh my god, congratulations, you guys won. I'm so proud of you guys becoming Rangers. And he snatches the key, and they're all celebrating. They're like, what are you talking about? Then Shion and the other three show up and they're like, what are you guys doing? It's like, yeah, they just snatched the key even though the match is over. The bell rung. It's like, no, the bell didn't ring. We didn't hear it. And then it's like, and I love the look on everyone's faces when like everyone's eyes are red, and then they're like, oops, I guess we got found out. I was like, ooh, sneaky. So it turns out Koguma ended up messing with the bells so that they would go off earlier, and they would count it down so that it would turn into a game of hot potato the moment we snatched the key. Because the original plan wasn't even for them. They originally had that set up to like confuse Suzukiri, but it was already in place by the time Suzukiri actually gave them the key. So it's like, we weren't expecting that. So I guess, that our main plan doesn't have to be a thing anymore. That it ended, what was originally plan A ended up becoming plan B, but it still worked out having that set up. So all they knew is like, right, well, that's what Usukubo was like counting down, because she's like, all right, like it'd take about another minute before like the bell, right, we got it. That means we're that much closer. Like she's counting down like how much time until the real bell goes off. So I was like, I love that stuff. That was really crafty and sneaky. I talked about it last episode. I wasn't under the assumption that by having all 5 keys, the other team automatically won. I thought because there is one more day to the exam, they'd have an opportunity to fight to get the keys back. But it's like, I guess the thing is, it's like, well, you got all the keys. That's the purpose of it. And now that you have, like, you won. But it's like, once again, the match isn't over. So, like, they're not holding all the keys by the end. And it became that hot potato at the very, very end. And, you had Yamato being like, yo, Sakurama, give me the key, and he's going to hold on to it for his life. He gets shot and it goes flying, and I think it was him and maybe Yukino that were like running for the key, and luckily he grabs it in the end, and it's like, yeah, they walked away with this victory. They still got 4 more keys to go, but this is not the complete and other dominating win that the other squad thought. Like, it slipped through their fingers because they weren't ready for tricks. I mean, it's like, you got to be tactical with this stuff. So our squad came out, like our squad of losers came out victorious, so they're all celebrating. And we also kind of get a little bit with Kaguma and Sakurama, or rather Fighter D, where he's like, yeah, I know what you are, and what is your reason for doing it? He's like, I'm not going to tell the enemy what I'm doing. But Koguma's like, aren't we a team? He's like, yo, don't get it twisted. You tell anybody anything, I'm going to kill you. But he's like, that's not who you are. You want to actually kill me. Because they're actually going to go look for Shippo, because they're like, where has he been the entire time? Turns out he was in the gym, and he's so like deflated. Like, he's all like, I'm like, last time we saw you, you were ripped to the gill. How the hell are you so mummified right now? We're not getting it. Turns out he, the ranger he went up against was the pink, was someone from the pink squad, and it's basically Sakura, the Pink Ranger's right-hand dude, that muscular dude. He felt like so inferior to him because like he felt so like powerful with his muscles. But it's like, yeah, if I cross paths him again, I'm just going to feel like so inferior. But it's like, well, you're not going to have to fight him again. It's like, why not? It's like, well, the other squad's got the other keys, so they've got Pink's keys, so he's not going to participate in the next match. He's like, really? Shippo like goes back to it. He automatically like starts getting ripped up. His skin turns tan again. He's like, why didn't you tell me that sooner? And everyone's just like, this guy's a fucking moron. It's like, yeah, that's what it was. His pride was broken. He thought like his muscles were everything, but he met someone else that was kind of more peak, muscle-bound man. Definitely gives me Armstrong vibes from Full Metal Alchemist. Like, obviously, that's what they're kind of going for a little bit. Not like, Armstrong isn't like that, but you get, like, the muscle-bound person. I guess he is a lot like Armstrong, because Armstrong was, despite being the muscle-bound dude, he's the Jolly Green Giant, because he's like very emotional, very sensitive in a lot of ways, but also tough as nails. So it seems like Shippo's kind of like that to some extent too. So, but Koguma's like, because I think it was Yamato who was suggesting like, right, him and Koguma could switch positions, because Koguma he's going to go to blue, but he's like, wouldn't you be better fit for yellow, because of like, yellow's R&D, so like your smarts would fit better. And I wonder what Yamato would get out of blue. But even Usukubo is like, yeah, I'm fine with staying with green. I don't think we know which squad Sakurama was going for, because we know, I mean, assume red, but we know that Shippo is obviously going for pink, considering like, well, you'd assume he's going for pink, but it's like, yeah, we never found out what Sakurama was aiming for. Probably never really thought about it. I mean, considering his personality and the independent route, he probably would have kept there anyway, but it's like, I don't know we don't really know how that works, the independent route. Like, upon becoming a ranger, can you even choose to stay in the independent route? That might be a possibility, kind of like abdicating of not being a part of any squad. I don't know. We'll have to wait to see what the future kind of covers on that fact and that matter. But Koguma is kind of proud of himself, because him and Uburabe have known each other obviously for a long time, and he's kind of followed in the shadows. But for him, it's like, for the first time, he feels like, right, you were my hero, and like I followed with you and I looked up to you. But it's like, no, I now see that with the people I surround myself with, he's gained more confidence. And it's like, I don't just need you by my side, Urabe. I can be a hero in my own right. I don't just have to follow in your shadow. And so the moment that was happening, and he was running off on his own, he's like, oh, I'm going to go meet with the instructor. I was like, because I didn't think about it at the time, but it's like, of course the instructor he'd be looking for is, what's her name? Is it Alzomi? She's the Blue Junior Ranger, which she's going through her own thing, which I'll circle over to that soon enough. But it's like, right, because she's going to be the one he's going to talk to about transferring over to become part of the yellow squad. I mean, especially considering, like, right, they have the yellow key now. Because that would put the point in, like, yeah, no one amongst their squad, amongst that group, is aiming for yellow. I wonder who is. Maybe, like, Urabe or Yukino, maybe. Either way, Yamato goes off and he meets up with Ishikawa. Because Ishikawa, like, D overheard a conversation between Yukinawa and Ishikawa, and she was like, I'm sorry I failed, but he's like, no, don't worry, and kind of like holding her intimately. So it's like, okay, so we find out later on he's playing her. Like, is there something between them? And maybe she felt like, I don't know if there was something prior to this that led to all of that, or, I was like, oh, are you guys in a relationship or something? But then later on, he's trying to convince Yamato to join their side. It's like, right, once you join our side, we'll all five have the key. Like, I'd rather have you on our squad than Yukino. But Yamato didn't take the bait, because he was like, nah, like, this isn't just my key. I can't make the decision unilaterally, because we as a team have to make that decision. And even D was like, wow. He's like, for one, he's like, Ishikawa might be even more devious than I am. But also, man, Yamato, you are an idiot. Like, you got a perfect opportunity, but it's also like, right, you turning that down makes you perfect for my squad. I even love, like, D being like, wow, like, the fact is, you were willing to go that far, but we'll settle this on the final day of the exam. So, there's that element to it. Because I think it's like, especially because it was like Yukino was the one that was ripping into Yamato at the beginning of the episode, saying like, oh yeah, your reason for joining the Rangers was just like for ladies. It's like, that's a shallow reason, but we don't know if that's the actual real reason why he wants to join the Rangers. That could just be the upfront reason he gives. But yeah, she had ripped into him. It's like, yeah, you basically be better off like finding some other position or something. You don't fit amongst the Rangers. It's like, that was a very dickish thing to say. And especially when she has to later on apologize to Ishikawa for getting like tricked and stuff like that, and kind of dropping the ball when it came to the yellow key. So I think that's kind of the interesting development on that front. But because of that, we will shift over to the other side of things. Speaking of, like I said, Alzomi, like I said, I think it's her name, and I'm probably butchering it. She comes across, what was it? I keep forgetting his name, Peltrola, the boss monster, and he was in the process about to kill another Blue Ranger, but luckily she showed up and was like, yo, get out of here. But the person was like, no, I can't leave you alone. And bam, her head's eviscerated. I was like, Jesus, that was so quick, because she stood up and her head was gone. It's like, Jesus. And I thought it was interesting how Petrolo was kind of saying this line along the lines of like, oh, aren't you the one that's like here, and aren't you suffering because you're older than you appear to be? And it's like, you got to be under a lot of immense pressure, being kind of like the shorty and in the short sense of like your stature and everything, you know, having to kind of prove yourself to so many people how they look at you. But he's like, basically bow down to me. But for her, it's like, I will still be just as cute even when I become a granny. So it does make you wonder how old she actually is. 'Cause I thought she was like on the very young side, but it's like, no, she's got the you know, the anime cliche thing of, oh yeah, I look like, I don't know if lolly would be the, yeah, I guess lolly probably is the right word, I guess, you know, but it's like, she's got the lolicon thing going on of being like, appearing young, but it's like, oh, like, I'm actually a dragon and I'm 5,000 years old, you know, that's the stereotype. So like, she's probably like maybe in her early to mid 20s, maybe, I don't know. Cause I assume everyone else is like in the 18 range, aren't they? Like all the characters we're kind of associated with mainly. So I guess like all the like higher rank people might be mid 20s. I'd assume like the Rangers might be in their mid 30s, if not early 30s. Who knows? But either way, she pulls out her divine artifact, which is a gun, but it summons up this head that shoots out this laser beam. And by the time we cut back to it, she's jacked up. She did some damage to Peltarola, but it's still like she's getting banged up too. And then Koguma, who was initially running away, came to back her up and pushed her into the elevator. It's like, man, like he's like, despite everything, I'm going to face this down, because he gained new confidence. And it seems like he gets killed by Petrola, who can't stick around. He's like, I'm going to have to hide because I got to wait to recover. So what we do see later on at the scene is like there is a hole blown into the elevator. So most likely he blew a hole in the elevator and just like that, like he's hiding somewhere in the elevator shaft waiting to recover. But then we see Double X. Once again, I don't know if it's just going to be like X or whether it's XX. Like, it sounds like when they're saying it like in the Japanese dub, it sounds like they're just saying X. So I don't know if it's XX or double, like however you want to refer to her as. But she looks at Kaguma's body and calls him foolish. And next thing we know, it's like, oh, they're not going to notice Kaguma not showing up. But he does. And they're like, okay, so one or two things happen. Either XX disguised herself as him, which is interesting because she made it clear when she was talking to D, she's not really good at disguising herself as a surface dweller. To be fair, she looks the way she does, so to some extent she's able to do it, but it's not something she can do really well. But I guess desperate enough situations, D has a good affinity for it, and he's perfected it now with his Sakurama transformation. I mean, as well as his other transformations too, as we've seen, but he's got a better grasp on it than any other duster. So either that's what she did, or maybe her specialty is possessing. Maybe she possessed Kaguma's dead body, because when the other junior rangers show up later on at the scene of the crime, Kaguma's body's not there. So, and they didn't say anything about it, because they're talking about the blood being Izumi's, so they don't know like what happened to her. So that's interesting, because even he was surprised, like, oh, Petrolo was like, oh yeah, a junior. It wasn't even a full blown dragon keeper that hurt me. It was one of the junior rangers that actually did, which surprised him. So, which showcased, like, obviously, enough of them gang up on him, they might have a chance, because there's still 4 and they plan on going after him, because it's like, right, we're not going to let the cadets know about this. We're going to keep the exam going. Feels very like tuning exam element, with just like all the BS going on, like Orochimaru showing up during the freaking exams. It's kind of something like that vein. Did I say what that was from? Oh, that's from Naruto. If that sounded like complete and utter gibberish to you, that comes from Naruto. Just saying, like, there are people who might be watching this or coming across this that might not have watched any of Naruto, might have heard of Naruto, but never did. It's a very similar thing where, like, oh, there's an exam happening, and then, like, shit hits the fan, like, in the middle of it, but also near the end of the exam. So it's kind of like a similar thing. I'm sure there's plenty of anime and manga you'll find where, like, similar thing of, like, oh yeah, a test is happening, and then shit hits the fan. So I'm curious to see what the situation ends up being with Kaguma. Like, what did, like, XX do? Like, there's no way she healed him. Especially because it's like, right, Kaguma's also the only one who knows about D. So she doesn't, well, she knows enough, which I think is interesting, because if that is her in disguise of Kaguma, later on when they use the burst function of their weapons, like, she activated it as well because all 5 of them did. So it's like, right, he's the one that discovered that thing. So either the moment she got inside of his, like, if she possessed his body, she has access to his memories or something. Like, once again, maybe she's able to take things a step further, where it's like, D can disguise himself as people, but he doesn't have their memory. So I'm like, not unless they went over that before the fight. So maybe that's why she went in to prepare. Once again, we don't know what that Koguma situation, him and X, like the whole situation, we don't know what that is. So we'll have to wait to get some clarity on that. But yeah, like, they came into this fight. It's going to be one-on-one, winner takes all type of situation. I guess it's got to be like best of 3. First to 3 wins the whole bag, the kit and caboodle. But they have the advantage because they have the burst functions on their weapons, and it gives them a massive advantage. I'm trying to think. It kind of gives me, which one of the Tenchi series was it? Tenchi Muyo, where he had like a thicker blade? Because obviously, like, because when I think lightsabers, obviously people think of like, because I've been hearing people constantly refer to them as lightsabers. It makes me think of 2 different things. The immediate thought was like, it makes me think of Tenchi, because Tenchi was like the first thing I ever saw outside, like Tenchi Muyo, Tenchi Universe, and what was it, Tenchi Tokyo. I remember those series back in the day on Toonami. The lightsaber thing, like, those were what I go to first. But also, like, if you've ever played, was it the 3rd Shadow Hearts game, Shadow Hearts from the New World? Might be the title. I always forget the subtitle. But the main character can kind of do a pseudo lightsaber thing. He basically channels red malice around a knife, making it like a beam saber. Once again, just, I'm going on massive tangents, but it's like, yeah, like, like the massive amount of energy around the blade. I'm like, there's examples of it, I'm sure, but I just can't think of any right now. Like, Tenchi might be the closest one that immediately comes to mind. But yeah, like, Sakurama has that win, and he's still battling Shion about, right, there's no way that there's any boss monsters around, because for him, it's like, he has to deny it, because he's like, if not, what the hell has been the 12 years of us being slaved to the Dragon Keepers been about? If there's been, I mean, we're only seeing Pedrola, but it's like, could the others still be alive? Because I brought this up early on in the season. I was like, oh, could the Keepers actually be like the boss monsters in disguise? But I'm like, no. Then they introduced the plot element of, no. They killed all the boss monsters like after the first year, and it's just been the dusters left for the past 12 years. So once again, what has Petrola been doing for the past 12 years if he's been out and about? Has he been recovering a good chunk of that time? Like, what has he been doing? Is he the only one alive? Are the others in hiding? There's just so much there. There's so much we're just slowly getting introduced to. But yeah, Shion doesn't take that lying down. He hates the fact is that not only Sakurama is... He feels like Sakurama doesn't have the proper motivation of like why you're doing what you're doing. For him, it's like, I want to like, not only do I want to destroy all the monsters, including the boss monsters in particular, because the way the subtitle said it, it's like boss monsters. So it wasn't just one, it was multiple ones that showed up. I'm not sure. But there's that element to it. But there's also like, he wants to change the Dragon Keepers because he doesn't believe like the Rangers organization as a whole. He's like, it needs to change. And so for D, he sees a lot of himself in Shion. There are a lot of direct parallels of like both of them desperate to prove themselves, to change this organization in one shape or form. Like, they both have demons of the past that they're trying to overcome, and they don't like the way this institution has been, well, institutionalized. And because obviously he looked up to his brother, and he had so many people, not, like I said, Sakurama is just the latest of, well, it's D, but D's the latest of many people who've told him for years, oh, you're crazy. There's been no sighting of any boss monster on any Sunday showdown. And even Red leaning in, telling him, it's like, well, your brother went up against a weak-ass monster, and it shows that he was never meant for this. He should have never become a ranger. It's like, yeah, Red's a complete and utter asshole. So that's why I'm almost wondering, like, could the Rangers have killed him? Were they in disguise? Like, did he find out something and they disguised as monsters, ended up killing him? Like, what's going on there? Could be, I wouldn't put it past him. Like, as we've seen, like, Red, like, a couple episodes, was episode 4, quite easily and brutally murdered, like, the junior that was there before Takito. So it's like they're not above killing themselves if given the opportunity, even though it would be heavily frowned upon. It's like, who the hell is going to really challenge one of the Rangers on? I mean, none of the other juniors there really stepped at. They were just kind of, I don't want to get on his bad side. Probably don't want to get on any of their bad sides, so you just kind of accept it as it is. This is how the shit rolls, and you step out of line. And if you want to talk shit, you better be ready to take a hit when it comes down to it. And Home Dude was not ready for that hit, as he had his fucking head, like as his body was bashed into the wall, and probably his head exploded and caved in. But either way. Because it isn't just Shion, because Shion's not even just living his dream anymore. He's living his brother's dream. His brother wants to get rid of any injustice in the world, was kind of his thing, not just the monsters. And so for Shion, it's like, right, that injustice includes not only monsters, but also the organization as a whole that denies this and continues to deny it. And so he was pissed off, smashing his weapon over and over until he makes it into burst mode. And now the two of them are about to duke it out, finishing it up. We haven't seen where the other side of things are. The last thing we see is what was it? Usukubo and what was it? Ishikawa, where he was like, he had helped her out previously, and he's like, all right, why don't you just give up without, getting hurt? I wouldn't want a lady to get hurt. She's like, oh, thank you, but don't underestimate me. We also had, was it Urabe and Koguma, which he's like, aren't you going to say anything? I'm sorry, but this is how this rolls. And once again, Koguma's not saying anything to him. Once again, might not be Koguma. Still don't know how that rolls. So it's unclear how the other matches are currently going right now. The only one we focused on this episode was Shion and Sakurama, or rather D. But yeah, well, like I said, we'll also catch and see how things are rolling for like the junior Rangers as they go up against Petrova. Like I said, I think Izomi is probably okay. I doubt she was taken out. Like, he might have gone in the elevator shaft, but I think he went in a different direction. Who knows? But it's definitely going to be interesting to ultimately see where the next episode takes us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.